For this project, I utilized some 3/4 inch radiata pine plywood that I had left over from some other projects, and I started off by ripping some strips down. There are tons of different ways to get straight cuts on large pieces of plywood. The most accessible is to clamp down a simple straight piece of wood to your plywood and then run your circular saw along this makeshift guide. You can purchase a long piece of trim from any home center and keep it just for this purpose. The other thing that I should mention now is that this is not going on a hollow core door. I'm going to be putting this on a solid core door, so it should be plenty strong enough to hold the roughly 20 to 25 pounds. Now, they do make hollow core door anchors, but I'll leave that one up to you if you think they're strong enough. Anyway, one level up from that straight edge would be buying an edge guide like this one from Craig that attaches to your circular saw. This particular one has a built-in ruler so you can quickly set it to the specific size cut that you need. And this is the tool that you see me take whenever I grab plywood from the home center, since I don't own a pickup truck and somehow the panel saw at my store has been broken for over 2 years. However, I think the easiest choice, at least for me, is using the table saw to rip all these pieces down. Now, before I get too far into this project, I know what you're asking. Eric, can you tell me what all these measurements are? Of course, but instead of me trying to flash up measurements and having you write all of them down, I made a simple 12-page PDF that's in full color with every measurement you need to build this for yourself. That includes the step-by-step process, detailed parts diagrams, and it's available for you to download instantly at the link in the description below or at spencleydesignco.com. With all those strips ripped down to their final width, I can measure out the lengths that I need to cut. But before I do that, let's actually take a moment to jump into SketchUp so you can follow how this whole build is going to come together. So here's a finished rendering of the whole project. Now, the left side might look a little strange with the cutout on the side, but that's to allow the handle to turn. And if you wanted to, you could skip this whole cutout and just make the whole unit a little more narrow. Anyway, let's remove the door to get a better look at the construction. If we start taking this thing apart, you can see that it's made of 8 of these purple shelves. And to keep items from falling off when the door is open and closed, I'm going to attach these yellow pieces and a shorter orange piece for the shelf that needs to be pushed over from the doorknob. And to give us a place to attach the unit to the door, I'm going to add some to the back as well. On the right side, I can attach this large gray panel, and on the left side, I have these 3 other panels that will tie the whole thing together. So now that you understand the construction a little bit more, let's jump back into the shop and start bringing our pieces down to their final size and getting everything assembled. The most basic way to break these long strips down is to use a circular saw and a speed square to get a nice, clean crosscut. Something like a miter saw would also be a quick and efficient way to break down these strips, but I don't have one, so I'm going to use my DIY crosscut sled for my table saw. On the sled, I can measure the length of cut I need to make and tighten down a stop block to make perfectly repeatable cuts. While I cut all my pieces down to their final size, I want to take a moment to thank my Patreon community for supporting the channel and making these unsponsored videos possible. These are just some of the folks that are supporting me in taking this channel full time, and I truly can't express how much I appreciate that support. And if you'd like to help support the channel so that I can make even more of these unsponsored videos, consider checking out my Patreon page to see the awesome perks that I have available for you. But as always, please don't feel pressured. I'm just happy to share this free content with you. And before you go too crazy cutting down all the pieces, just remember that there was that one front piece that's a little bit shorter than the rest. After getting my music set in my headphones, I set out to sand all of these pieces. Since I'll be painting the whole thing, there's really no reason to go above 120 grit. But if you don't want to paint the unit, make sure to sand to whatever your finish you're using recommends. One tip that I have for sanding is to set a towel or something else grippy down to hold the pieces still. Not only will this prevent pieces from slipping away, but it will also prevent your workbench from scratching up the underside of the wood. With all of that sanding done, I can move to assembling the shelves. I'm going to put pocket holes here, 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 and here. And it might seem like a waste of time, but I always mark these out before drilling just to make sure that I don't mess anything up. And if you've never used pocket holes before, there are a ton of different jigs, but they all produce the same result that looks like this. Then get your music going because you have a lot of pocket holes to drill. And while I work on that, I want to remind you that I'm also on Instagram at Spencley Design Co. That's where I share tons of behind the scenes content, interact with the community, and show you all the projects I'm working on way before they make it here to YouTube. So if that's something that sounds interesting to you, consider checking it out. And if you like what I'm sharing, consider following me. With all the pocket holes drilled, I can start assembling everything. I'll start by grabbing one of the shelves and screwing in one of the front pieces on with pocket hole screws and a touch of wood glue. You could probably make this whole thing without wood glue, but it really doesn't take too much extra time just to add the glue. Plus, I'd rather over-design something than risk the potential of the screws losing their hold over time. And just remember that one of those shelves has the shorter front piece to allow room for the door handle. Once the front pieces are on, we also need to attach the back piece. This will not only help support the shelves, but also give us a place to mount the entire unit to the door. Just be sure during this entire process that you're paying attention and making sure that all of the pocket holes are facing the rear. If you haven't cut on yet, this build really isn't anything difficult. It's highly repetitive, but it's perfect for someone looking to practice skills and get more comfortable with their tools. And once all of the shelf supports were added, I could start attaching the shelves to the side panel with more pocket hole screws. In order to get proper spacing between the shelves, I cut down a spacer piece from some scrap plywood. This piece will help me quickly determine where each shelf needs to be attached relative to the previous shelf. And with one side attached, I can work on attaching one of the left side pieces with some more pocket hole screws. I can then cut down the middle divider piece and attach it to the assembly, followed by attaching that final side piece. With everything assembled, it's time to finish it. I used some of this white elixir enamel from Total Boat and apparently had no idea how to work my camera because I only have this out of focus shot of my toolbox and then this shot of me pouring the paint into my spray gun. So unfortunately, you're going to have to leave this one up to your imagination as I paint the whole thing and get it mounted on the door. Anyway, I got the shelf mounted on my door and this one was done. Now these shelves are a much better solution to our pantry storage, but I'm about to take a little Dunkaroo break and start on the next project. See you on the next one.